what you've chosen to do, I think, to try and make this readable and understandable is basically to concentrate on various individual lives through that period and then tell the story via them. I think that's
it was that came about sort of not exactly late in the day, but some way into the writing, and it was the pain that was chapter 3, which is about the conversion of the English in the 7th century. And I'd written it as a very diligent kind of everybody gets a shake of the stick, all these characters. And I just read it, and it was just like, someone cornering you in a pub and saying, "Let me tell you about all the the 7th century saints, but also the Archbishop of Canterbury." And it was just you. After 5 pages, you were like, no one is ever going to read this book. And there were 2 sources basically for the 7th century. The main source for everything prior to the 700 is the Venerable Bede. Without Bede, we would know virtually zippity-doo-dah. But he wrote reams of stuff, which is a godsend. And so almost everything we know about the formation of England in the sort of, particularly the 7th century and the rise of kingdoms, is from Bede. And similarly, the conversion of the English is from Bede. That was his main theme. Besides Bede, there was one other really good source, which was the biography of a character called St Wilfrid.
Yeah,
who sounds kind of like he'd be sort of like a, dry as dust monastic type. And in fact, he's like Thomas Becket on steroids. He not only annoys one king, he annoys all the kings, and he keeps going to Rome to get kind of like go over their heads. And he has so much kind of the trappings of worldly power, pomp, stables of horses, great, wine cellars, and a household of his own knight. So he's kind of like a sort of a king himself. And clearly, he really split opinion right down the middle. His acolytes thought he was amazing, and his detractors thought he was, including Bede, who was kind of like, not sure about Wilfrid. But his acolytes, after he died, wrote a life of St Wilfrid, which is about 100 pages in modern print, and it's hilarious because it's so desperate to defend him against accusations that we wouldn't otherwise know about. So it suddenly breaks it and says he never had more than half a glass of wine at dinner, and there are lots of witnesses that can vouch for this. And you're like, I don't remember that being an issue, but okay, you seem very keen to deny it. But this is a long digression, but this was the crucial point in writing the book. The life of St Wilfrid had so much good material, it kept pulling the chapter off balance. And there were so many Wilfrid anecdotes and scenes that after about draft number 3, in real frustration, I remember scrawling in capital letters on the front page of this draft, why not just make the whole expletive word about Wilfrid?
Yeah.
Because he wants to be the star of the show. And I came back to it sometime later and thought, is that such a stupid idea? And actually, for the Wilfrid chapter and for a lot of subsequent chapters, but especially the early ones, having a character that you follow their life story, assuming you can sustain that, is really useful. Because if I tell you about, say, a post-conquest king, William the Conqueror, Edward I, say, you just start off and you say, they're king of England, and all you need to know is England is about the same size and shape as it is now, and it's a land of boroughs and shires and bishops, and you get it. Whereas if you go back to the 7th century, the geography is completely alien to almost any reader. So you're having to say there's this kind of plurality of different kingdoms and powers, and they're all sort of subdivided, and some people are converted and some people aren't. And because you're not even pre-industrial revolution, but because you're pre-conquest, pre-Viking, lots of the places that are now important as cities developed after the Vikings or developed in the later Middle Ages. And so the places that you kind of might find familiar, so, post-conquest stuff, you say Westminster, Winchester, Oxford, York, these places, 99% of the time, they don't exist in this period. So you're talking about obscure places, obscure kingdoms, obscure characters. And without someone's hand to hold, like Wilfrid, you would be lost. If you kept switching geographical location, it would be like a film with 1,000 cuts in it. So long answer, but that's to say that that was the key to unlocking the whole book, was if you focus on this one individual, then we can explain the unfamiliar landscape through which they are passing as we go.